Mindi Huebner, thank you so much for joining me on the Scenic Route podcast today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here, and you allowing me to pour into your community is totally a privilege. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to pour into this community. We're sure going to learn a lot today about the mysterious works of our brain. But first, kind of like so that we get a chance to know you, please briefly walk us through your story, like how you started, what you're doing now, how you got where you are today, like what were the pivotal crossroads, big
Absolutely.
moments.
I have always taught, coached, mentored. My entire adult life, I have been the person who people came to, asked advice, would you help me? Those types of things came very naturally for me as well. I was in direct sales for about 17 years, and I had a large team that I led and trained. I trained nationally for my company as well, was top in sales every year for 17 years. And the division that I was in, the doors closed. And so I came to a pivotal moment. I came to an actual crossroad where I thought, okay, that was really great. And I'm really tired. There were some things that I could be doing better. I was very successful, made a lot of money. It was a good gig. It was a really good gig.
Yeah.
And looking back, I could see that without realizing they were limiting beliefs, I had limiting beliefs that were keeping me in a cycle of hustle, keeping me in a cycle of, and this was the biggest one, rest was lazy. This, yeah, exactly. I didn't know what I didn't know until I was presented with this opportunity to revisit and look at, okay, well, now I'm going to pivot. I will go deeper into coaching than I was before. And I want to do this sustainably, because I wasn't just mentally and physically tired. Like, I was spiritually tired. I was soul tired.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was a sustainable way to be even more successful, to create more income, to create more of a life that I wanted. I knew it. There was no doubt about that. And so that was my pivotal moment of, okay, let's start. How does the brain work? How do we create habits? How can they serve us? How can they not? How are we wired? How can we start changing that wiring? Yeah. And that's when I realized, wow, I have this limiting belief that rest is lazy. And so it keeps me on a hamster wheel, where now I know rest breeds productivity. Rest breeds creativity.
Yeah.
Rest allows us to implement and integrate and do what we are, which is human beings, not human doings, right? It allows us to be. It allows us to be. And that's where the most downloads come in. The most expansion comes is when I'm resting, as opposed to
hustling
when I'm doing. Right. Exactly.
Agreed.
And that was the pivotal moment. And it all just built from there. I started in health coaching, because that health and my body and all those things were always important to me. I thought this is a really natural fit. Realized that health coaching, life coaching, success coaching, the foundation of all of that is mindset. Like, it doesn't matter what you're talking about.
No. Yeah.
Your thoughts control.
And it's
everything.
all, it's the starting point of how you see the world.
Yes.
How you react to it, and ultimately the pillar of your entire well-being.
Exactly. Or not.
Right? Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. I think there's an episode where we always called mindset mind shit, because
there's that too.
But I'm curious. I want to go back to what you've said about you knew there is another way. And I'm curious, did you feel like you had this innate knowing of there is another way? was it an innate knowing of like there is another way, or or there is another way that is possible for me too?
Both. It was an innate knowing. I was at also this expansion in my spirituality where I was much more tapping into my intuition
Yeah.
and really allowing those gifts to open up. So there's a more sustainable way than this.
Yeah.
Like you can improve your process in this whole thing. And there was and you specifically have this opportunity to figure out the best way for you. Because that's the beauty that I coach women to have a soul aligned business. Well, 24/7 hustle is not aligned with anybody's soul. I know.
Yeah, there probably are some people like,
exactly,
and if that's you, that's cool, but you might be on the wrong podcast.
Those aren't my those don't tend to be my clients. They're like, there's gotta be
mine neither.
way.
I call them the 10K and 10-day people, and they usually do not like me. Which is cool.
There's a time for hustle. There is a time for inspired.
Oh goodness. I still don't like the word hustle, but like don't that's the big misconception of the 10K 10-day people. They're like, oh, you're just like chilling and not doing anything, manifesting, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but I actually do a shit ton of work.
Exactly.
Like, it's just different. I'm not bound to an arbitrary timeline that I set for myself.
And it's aligned action.
I know where I want to go.
Exactly. It's not someone else's blueprint for us. See, this is the problem. This is where this is what I found that I was doing, and this is what I find my clients have done. We build really successful businesses based on someone else's blueprint because they're getting some things right, of course.
Yeah, and every strategy works.
Exactly.
Right? Like for some.
What we're neglecting is to remember that our businesses get to serve us first so that we can then be at our highest and best for our clients, for our community, for whatever it is. And when we completely follow someone else's model, well, we lose that in it because it's their model. So it serves them first. So we get to take pieces and then go, okay, let's alignment check here. And
do I want to do this? Does this make me feel expansive, or does it make me feel stressed?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I remember like when I started out like 5 years ago, I mean, that was so hard. And not only, people would be like, well, yeah, then just like, it wasn't just hard in like the freebies, and like the cheaper courses, right? Like, obviously you get a blueprint and something if you do like, I don't know, a freebie or a cheap course. It's not tailored to you. But I was even in a mastermind experience where that was the case. And I'm like, I thought like, no, actually, I don't want it. Thank you very much. But it's so interesting. And again, going back to like, where I was like, oh yeah, that cuts deep, where like rest is lazy. And like, it's again, if you're building on a business model that is tailored to someone else's life, maybe someone who, I don't know, has grown up kids or no kids, or is feeling perfectly healthy, has no, I don't know, chronic illnesses, or has a spouse who earns $200K a year, who has no financial pressure, whatever it is.
Right.
There's totally different energy and strategy behind it. So it might not work for you. Bits, of course, but probably not everything. And the way most of the coaching businesses are structured online is let's look at the big ones. I always feel like you make you feel very bad about yourself if it doesn't work. Like, it's kind of like, oh, it's your fault. like you didn't manifest this enough, or you didn't want this enough, or your energy wasn't in it, or whatever kind of woo woo vulva magic wasn't right. Like maybe you didn't put out your crystals during the right moonshine, whatever. Right. And I'm like, well, yeah, no. Like shaming people into change never works.
And so what I came to as well with this belief that I thought was serving me, because that's the other thing about a limiting belief, right? It dresses up as a protection.
Yeah, so to get something out of it, right?
Exactly. It feels like, first of all, it probably keeps you in the known. My guess is with most of your limiting beliefs, listeners, keeping you in the known, which is where your brain likes, because it knows what happens there and it burns.
Brain doesn't like change.
Exactly.
Everything that they know. Exactly. They're like, oh, I like it. Happy place.
So it keeps, so limiting beliefs are literal limits to your expansion. That's how I want you to think about a limiting belief. They are limiting you from having anything and everything that you desire. And so when you recognize one, when you see something that no longer serves you, there is no space in your expansion for shame or guilt. The only thing that you get to make space for is curiosity. Yes. How do I get to show up differently? What could I think instead? When do I want to start shifting away from this thing that no longer serves me into a more empowered thought, feeling, action, belief, way of being? Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing. Like empowered action. It's not like you, even if you have a limiting belief, you get some things done, right? Like, but at the end of the day, the energy behind it is so different, right? And that's also why some blueprints might not work, right?
Well, here's what I know. We cannot out hustle our beliefs. So we can't, because we will show up as the person who believes X. So if you believe rest is lazy, right? If this is at your core, you're not going to be able to rest. It will never,
without crapping on yourself.
Exactly. There will be shame. There will be guilt. There will be, and so the moment that you see that, you can start to do that rewiring. You start to unwire and rewire in the way that you want to. And if you believe that the only way to grow your business or to be successful or to make as much money as you want is to work 24/7,
to do more,
then guess what? Like that's who you're going to be. Like
it would kind of like reinforce itself.
Exactly. And so we get caught up in, conversely, if you believe that you're actually not old enough, smart enough, experienced enough
XYZ
to bring in 100K in revenue, guess what? You win, because you're always winning the game you're playing. This is how beautiful the machine of your mind is. You think a thought, it becomes a belief, it becomes an I am statement. It creates an emotion and habits, and the habits will prove what you believe all day long, every day, especially the disempowered one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because we have the tendency to, I mean, that's also like when we look back at our own childhood, we have this bias of remembering more clearly the memories that hurt us than the ones that brought us joy.
And this is because the way the brain works, the way you're programmed, the way you are innately, is the brain is like Teflon for positivity and Velcro for negativity. It takes, depending on the study that you read, it takes 3 to 10 happy things to cancel out one not happy thing, or 3 to 10 positive things to cancel
the negative.
Out one negative thing. And so we get to be people who are continually celebrating the empowerment that we have, the way that we show up, the greater thought that we get to think, as opposed to sitting in shame or guilt about something that we can't change anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also like the science, I assume, or if I just now think about it, the science behind like every day, every evening, write down 10 things you're grateful for, right? It's not necessarily like it doesn't have to be big things, but it's just the sheer act of actually thinking about like putting the memories of
Moving your
gratefulness
attention
back into your brain and actually be like, hey, today these 10 cool things happened that I'm really grateful for, and not this one shitty thing.
Exactly. The other part of that is we focus where we focus, right?
Yeah,
Our
attention goes where focus flows or something.
Exactly. And so the more that we can recognize these tiny, even if they're tiny or huge celebrations, these things, the more we train our brain, because your brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on your beliefs, the more we shift that filter in your brain to start allowing in the positivity. And I'm not a like negative, positive, empowered, disempowered. How about we go there? Or the happy thing, you know, letting things
I
in.
love empowered, disempowered, right?
Yeah, letting those pieces in. The more that we acknowledge, and here's the other part about the brain too, we get to, here's what we tend to do. When something is disempowered, we will sit in it like a freaking puddle. And when something's empowered, when we've hit a milestone, when we've, whatever it is, right? When we go, okay, I did it, next thing.
Yeah.
We don't sit in it. So how could we memorize it as clearly as we memorize the disempowered things when we don't give equal space to them even?
Yeah, I love that. And that's like a big part of a scenic route, right? Like going slow enough that you're actually realizing what you're feeling and feeling what you're feeling. And it's hard because we're so trained to be like, go, go, go all the time. And the rest is lazy. It hits deeper for some of us than for others. But like from your experience working with your clients, what are some of the limiting beliefs that creep up on you that might not be like the most obvious contenders in the game?
Sure. Well, there was definitely my clients have very successful businesses. They make great money, and they specifically, I'm thinking of one, she found herself at a place where the model wasn't serving her anymore. And so now it was the self-doubt. Can I shift the model and stay at the income level and keep having what I want from the business? There was a limiting belief in that. Well, I did it, but I did it this way. So
can I also do it another way? Yes.
Exactly. So there was that limiting belief. I have another client who is taking her company, you know, she wants to double the revenue in the millions. She wants to go like double it into the millions, past the millions, and move more out of the business. Is this possible to continue to expand my company's revenue and show up less? Yes, it's possible. So those are the types of limiting beliefs that come in that, you know, like that's where they get
but I love that
people in business. The limiting beliefs are, you know, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know enough. Rest is lazy can hit us at any time, I think, you know, depending on who we are. Yeah.
Agreed. I love that you first mentioned like let's say, I don't know, upper limiting beliefs for lack of a better word, right?
Sure.
Like because I sometimes have conversations with people who are starting their business, and I'm always like, look, I'm not the best branding person if you're starting out in your business. Like, no, like,
you need to work through some shit first.
And like also like you can work through shit, what works for you, what you want to do, and then get like the expensive logo and the expensive brand. Like there are other things to focus on first. And I love, and then I don't know, they're always like, well, some things are easy for you. Well, it's easy, like, or like when I talk about Scenic Route, well, it's easy for you to like advocate for slowpreneurship now that you kind of like, I don't know, are in the multi-hundred revenue, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, and no, both. Like you have to let go of the notion that at one day it will be done. You will be done. Like when you will be done, you will literally be done. It will be the end. Like literally. Like there will always be new shit you have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you came up with those first two examples of like, hey, even when you have like a super successful company, there you maybe want to do a new product, or you maybe want to do shift your business model, or maybe you want to touch base with a new audience, whatever it is. There will always be something coming up, and someone inside you and probably outside you, if you have a big enough audience, who's telling you you cannot do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely
I
right.
love that it's not just like a beginner thing of like having limiting beliefs and like battling with that.
And here's the other thing. So sometimes something comes up, and I learned this through my own work with my own mindset coach. Some things that we are calling a limiting belief are actually a fact, and we get to move around in them. So let's take a new business owner, for example. Growing your email list is hard. Well, it is. It's a hard thing that you do. It's not second nature. You're learning something new. You're trying different strategies.
Yes.
The what you get to do then, like that's not a limiting belief. That's a fact. So who do you want to be in the fact that growing your email list is going to stretch you? It's going to require you to learn,
show up.
Exactly. So you get to find ease and joy in it. You get to become the entrepreneur who. So sometimes we get facts mixed up with limiting beliefs. Like I'm not going to affirmation away the fact that there are difficult things in building a business.
Oh God, yes.
Difficult things in scaling a business. There's going to be difficult pieces. Who do you want to be in those challenges? How do you want to show up in them? Because that's where the limiting beliefs are going to come in. They're going to tell you that because this is a hard thing, you're not tough enough. You're not smart enough. You're not whatever enough. There's the limiting belief.
Yeah. Or I see that sometimes it's one of my favorite coaching when I coach clients is like when they come to me and I'm like, well, what do you want from us working together? Right. And then they go like, well, I one of the classics is like, I want to go more high ticket, like high ticket clients. Like, okay, sure. Let's say we talk about 50K package clients. Sure. Okay. You want to sign 10 more of those. Okay, cool. And then comes the trick question. What will you tell yourself? What will you tell yourself about yourself when you do or do not reach that?
100. What is the meaning that you are giving to these? And we do this continually. We give arbitrary meaning lots of times that determines our worth based on things that we don't actually have control over. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about 50K packages. I want to sign 10 new clients to a 50K package. I have influence over people signing that. The only thing I have control over is me, what I believe, how I show up, the strategies that I implement. That's what I can control, who I am being and how I am, what I'm creating. I cannot control someone hitting the buy button. I can influence greatly.
Yeah.
I can't control that. And yet all day long, every day, when we don't make the sale, when we don't hit the monetary goal, we make it mean we're not good enough. We're a failure. We're this, we're that. And this is where the rewiring comes in. How about the meaning that the person who didn't sign up wasn't the right fit? How about the meaning that made space for the one that is the right fit? You don't want to take a half-ass client. You want a whole client, right?
Maybe it was just not a season for them. Whatever it was.
So many other empowered meanings that we can give to not reaching a goal. We get to stretch more. This is our opportunity, right? To look for more expansion, to tweak something, we just choose because it's it honestly is the easiest thing to do because it protects us then from having to fail in it again, from having to try again. We get to want change more than we fear it. And we get to practice being that person. Rewiring your brain takes just as much practice as you practiced being who you are right now.
Oh my God, yes. Like I always say to people when I remember also what my coach hammer drilled into me, like when I was like, oh, like I don't know, almost kind of I'm not changing fast enough, whatever that means. And she was like, you have to go slower. You have to go slower. It's not like if you have never run a marathon. I'm not a runner, don't know, but I suppose it's like that. You can tell me if it is. If you've never run a marathon, it's very unlikely that on your first try, you're actually getting across the finish line. There are probably some people who do, but it's probably you probably will not cross the 42 kilometers.
You train for it. You practice and practice.
You start with sprints and you start with a 1K, a 5K, a 6K, a half marathon, whatever.
And you integrate being that runner, and you integrate that mileage into your system. Yes. And how much sleep do I need? And how much fuel do I put in my body?
How much carbohydrates do I need? How much?
And you keep tweaking and tweaking to run that 26.2 miles. So while you can absolutely finish, even if it's your first time, you're not going to go as fast as someone else's first time if they have done things to set themselves up for success better.
Yeah.
So how are you setting yourself up for success is the question. Yeah.
Oh, so how do we set okay, let's not how do we set ourselves up for a business success? Sure. I was assuming we can do a marathon success session.
Yeah, no, I don't run marathons. Half marathons are as far as I've run, and I don't ever want to run a marathon. That sounds horrific to me to go that far. I know what that notion feels like after a half marathon. That's plenty. So
I know how it feels like after a 5K. So I'm no, that's fine. I'm good.
So we can set ourselves up for any kind of success with the exact same steps. That's the beauty of it. What do I want? What do I really want? And
but then most of my clients go, I'm going to cut you in there because I know all of the people I work with, they're giving me now, they're going to eye roll and be like, Mindi,
yeah,
I don't know what I want.
Okay. You know what you don't want because contrast has showed you that. So what's happening right now that you no longer want to happen? You get to pull that up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so if that was no longer happening, what would you want? You get to flip it really quickly. I don't know what I want is fear. Stepping in. It's a limiting belief, stepping in. It's a protection. And so, okay, well, what don't you want? Let's go from there, right? I don't want to feel XYZ anymore. I don't want to look at an empty bank account anymore. I don't want to,
see the dark shadows under my eyes.
Exactly. Okay, great. So what do you want? Okay, if I don't want dark shadows under my eyes, then I want to get 7 hours worth of sleep.
Yeah, or just feel well rested. Yeah.
Okay. So then now you know what you want. You have a vision that you get to cast towards this outcome. Here's the magic. It's more than outcomes. It's more than habits. Anyone can one night get 7 hours of sleep. They can take NyQuil, they can lock all the doors, they can hustle their way to 7 hours of sleep one time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not a way of being. That's an action that you took. And the magic comes in becoming
repeated
the human
action.
Who, the identity of, so that the action is of course. Well, of course I get 7 hours.
It's kind of like you have to feel first like you're a person, like you said with the runners, like you have to feel like a person who sleeps 7 hours a day. You have to kind of like be it first before you let action follow.
Okay, so if we were a person who got 7 hours worth of sleep, right? What would we see? What would we hear? What would we taste? What would we feel internally? What would we feel externally? We get to dive into a swimming pool of the outcome of 7 hours of sleep so that we know how to shift our identity to the person who they get this outcome of 7 hours of sleep. Of course they do. It's just a milestone on the way to all the other amazing things opening up for them because they're the human who. Mm-hmm. They're embodying the identity of, and so be, do, have, be them, then do the things. Okay, so if I want 7 hours worth of sleep, what is that going to look like? Well, it's going to look like maybe getting off my phone a little bit earlier the night before. Maybe it's going to look like adding a cup of tea. So I tell my body, like, we're winding down.
Yeah, kind of like what you do with your kids, right? Like a routine, a bedtime routine.
Exactly. And it gets to look like something in the morning as well. And then maybe you realize, oh, you know what else it looks like? It looks like switching to decaf coffee at noon because I'm noticing that I'm not settling down. I'm not sleeping. Oh, and you know what else it gets to look like? It gets to look like getting some fresh air every day because I notice when I get fresh air, I can be more relaxed.
Or move a bit. You don't have to run a marathon, but just move, like go for a walk, do some stretches, whatever kind of movement.
And you start to, here's the beauty, your brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on your belief. Deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on your belief. So when you believe that you get to be the human who not only gets 7 hours of sleep, but gets all the benefits from being the human who, when you believe this, your RAS, your reticular activating system, your filter starts to let the unconscious become conscious, and it will bring to you more avenues of being this human, more ways to embody this human who not only gets the 7 hours of sleep, the human who moves their body or reads before bed instead of scrolls the phone. It will start bringing to you proof, not only proof that you can, but the how as well.
That's what when people feel like have like a hard time to get that, what is making it really tangible is like, well, I remember when I first was when I was pregnant, I never saw so many pregnant people.
Exactly.
Well, when I was pregnant, because it was so on the forefront of my mind.
Exactly.
And it was like, ooh, pregnant person, right? Like, and then there weren't more pregnancies when I was pregnant.
Nope, you just didn't pay attention to them until it pertained to you. Until you brought the unconscious to it. Conscious. You brought the unconscious conscious. Your filter shifted. It said, oh, now we're recognizing pregnant women, right? And it started showing you proof of that. That's the Bader-Meinhof theory. And everyone's experienced it. Most of us experience it when we buy a car. We see like, oh, everybody has this car. Oh,
like, everyone drives a wide car. Yeah.
Exactly.
God,
exactly.
Yeah, I just thought like the bedtime and the morning routine, like there's so much talk about, like there's so much talk about morning rituals and routines and blah, blah, blah. We talked about before about like, like, I don't know, people do all these things about getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, do their journal, ice baths, whatever. Like you do what works for you, right? But I also felt like, you know, those rituals, you could also just like, I mean, I know them. I don't do that when I enter like a really creative deep work phase. I have kind of like my ritual that plays. And it's like, for example, when you watch Rafael Nadal play tennis, every time he puts a ball, like he has this weird ritual thingy he does, right, to kind of like get him in the zone. So you could do that with literally anything, right? And I thought just like if you want to earn, if what we said before, like maybe you don't want to see your empty bank account, maybe you do kind of like your little ritual before you check your numbers in the morning.
This is a bit, yes, I love where you're taking us here, because this is a beautiful way to like teach people some really actionable steps. who do I want to be when I look at my bank account? Here's the fact. If the bank account is empty right now, it's freaking empty. This is not
fact.
a limiting belief.
No,
this
fact.
is a fact.
You paid a lot of bills, it's empty.
The limits come in where you believe that you can't create income to go in there, that there's no answer, there's no solution. This is
or there's no easy way.
Exactly. And so then you get to ask yourself, okay, who do I want to be when I look at this bank account? I want to be the human who is allowing the universe to talk to me from all the places. I want to be the human who romances the money I have. This is one simple, I say simple, maybe not easy, depending on your belief.
Simple, easy, not the same things.
Simple way to love your money, love the money that you have, start reframing when you're paying a bill, what that gets to mean for you. Because most of us will like grumble. And other people, anytime they swipe their card at the grocery store or write a check, they go, money flows to me. I'm so happy to put money out of the universe.
That's so true though, right? Like if you're every time you want to log into your online banking and you're like terrified of like, oh my God, what number will glare at me, right? Like you're just reinforcing that money is scary and is here to make you feel bad. And I always get like the weird side eye when I tell people, you know, I paid a shitload of taxes for 2021 and I fucking love it.
That means you made a lot of money.
Yeah, and people are like, well, why are you happy in paying like more than 10, like 12, 15 fucking K in taxes? And I'm like, and also we have a super low tax rate here in Switzerland, just FYI. But anyway, I'm like, well, because I fucking earned a lot of money and I fucking happily pay taxes. So I don't know, we all do something for the greater good because we decided to live together in like a state where we support people.
Here we are with the meaning again. We're reframing the meaning.
Yeah.
We think a thought, it creates an I am, it creates a feeling in us. So if opening the bank account terrifies you, this is now a memorized way of being. It's memorized. So what do you get to do? What questions do you get to ask yourself? Who do you get to be to unlearn this memorization? You get to start casting votes for the version of you that knows that the numbers are facts. Like you don't have to assign me. They don't mean you suck. They don't mean that you can't.
That's the thing. Yeah, you have to detach
their
meaning
data. They are data.
Yes, and I mean, I'm also someone who like has, I don't know, like, I mean, I feel we all have money stories, right?
Sure. Yes.
And I mean, in my early 20s, I had this overspending habit. Like nothing too serious, but like I had it and I wasn't feeling good about it. And it always made me feel like I can't be trusted with money because I'm like, woo. And I still like to spend like in terms of like things with people, right? Like treating people for dinner or whatever.
Yeah, experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I had to really work hard on that I can be trusted with money. I don't make silly decisions or like, oh, well, whatever. Like I do take money seriously to some extent. And also what I had to learn that was hard, that I had to forgive myself for the way I treated money in the past.
Bless and release. Yeah,
exactly.
No shame, no guilt.
And knowing that I did the best I could at that time
with the knowledge and the tools that you had. Yes.
And that goes for everything, right? Like we have this tendency to, like, with the knowledge of the 2022 me, to look back at 21, 22 version of ourselves and be like, you should have known better at that time to not do that, to not blah, 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 blah. And like, no, if you can truly detach and be like, you know, yes, I drank a glass of wine every night at that time, but it was fucking stressful. It was the only way I could cope.
This was your coping mechanism. Exactly.
Then you did the fucking best you could.
Exactly. And this is another way that we get to step into rewiring our brain as we get to bless and release and not
Mm,
like we're going to ditch the shame and guilt. It won't change anything, but it will stop you from becoming who you want to be when
mm,
you sit in the shame and guilt. When you say, okay, well, like 2021 me, I'm blessing and releasing all that no longer serves me. I'm bringing along all the parts that are going to continue to grow with me, right? I'm bringing the lessons
the
that I
parts of me that
learned
I actually like.
and that are serving me. See, what
Yeah.
we're leaving are the pieces and the thoughts and the habits
Yes.
that no longer serve us. And we're stepping into becoming more of who we're made to be.
Mm.
And we also get to, here's another way to rewire your brain. Start trading words. So instead of should, especially if you're talking
You
about
shall
yourself
not
in the
do
past,
shoulds.
especially if you're talking about yourself in the past, I should have done this, I should have done that.
Mm,
What if you said instead, and you got curious about how it would feel to say from now on, in the future, and next time?
mhm.
This opens a door where should closes it.
Yeah.
It's over. Like whatever
Yeah.
you should have done is over.
Yeah.
So how about next time you'll be more thoughtful?
Yeah.
Next time you'll look at it a little bit longer before you make a decision. In the future,
Yeah.
you're going to
Yeah.
XYZ instead. Those word swaps, just starting
Yeah.
with word swaps, will rewire
Yeah.
your brain.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just recognizing that, yes, I did that. It's the best. At least I tried. I'm a person who, I don't know, takes care of the well-being or prioritizes whatever.
What if I just get to do better now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I get to
And
do better.
I get to do better, and I get to be better to myself, treat myself better. And so I will. It's
Yeah.
not even like thinking about the next time, right? Because you have no control over what's coming. So if you just decide for every moment, I treat myself better because I want to, I desire to.
I'm worthy. I deserve it. I don't have to earn it. There's nothing it is innate in me. It is
Yes.
Standard model off the assembly line. I am loaded with worth. I couldn't
Yes.
be any more worthy.
Yes.
And there's nothing I could do to not be worthy of deserving the best.
Yes, that goes back to what you said about, and I love this, we're human beings, not human doings.
Right.
But at the same time, it's so interesting, right? I see it in my kid now. He's 3 years old. Like, he still has this. And I like this innate knowing of, I'm fucking awesome and I don't have to do anything to prove it.
Exactly.
And I just hope he can preserve this for as long as possible. Because
he will preserve it longer already, because you are recognizing that you get to create the container for him to do so.
Yes, exactly. And
that's the beauty of growth. Well, for us.
Absolutely. To kind of like realizing, hey, I primarily do all of this shitty, icky growth things who are mostly unpleasant while you're going through them. I do them for myself. Yes, I do that for myself. Like, there's no ego, no shame in that. I do it for myself. I want to feel better. But at the same time, I already see ripple effects of it.
Absolutely.
Right? I see it in my closest family. I see it with my clients when they tell me like, oh, because you did, I kind of just thought I could too.
Exactly. Yes. And this is, so every time we cast a vision, okay, and casting a vision could be an outcome as simple as, I want to drink 8-ounce glasses of water a day, or I want to not, freak out every time I open the bank account. Like, whatever the vision is, it could be a lot bigger than that. We cast the vision. What's it going to taste like? What's it going to smell like? What's it going to sound like? What's going to feel like inside and outside? We dive into a swimming pool of the vision. And then We get to cast votes towards being that person. And every time you cast a vote, it creates that ripple effect. Every time you cast a vote, you embody that person even more. You're rewiring your brain without even realizing it, because it's going to start showing you that.
Yes. So let's break it down into really action items. Like, let's say you're the person, you decide you want to double your revenue next year.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like you really dive into, like, I'd say you really go into like, okay, what if you have doubled your revenue, how does your day look like? Right? Like you really go into like all these kinds of things. You get up in the morning, I don't know, you might have groceries delivered because you're not running the groceries yourself anymore. You put a lemon in your water just because you feel fucking fancy, and like, you know, all these kinds of things. And you kind of like how it makes you feel, how you move, how you experience things.
Absolutely. What kind of books are you going to be reading?
Exactly.
How are you going to be spending your time?
Yes.
Like all of that.
Yes.
What's vital in that is really getting clear on the why of doubling your revenue. And in order to then create the container for it, because we cannot hustle our beliefs. So the why of create, and this is honestly the only time I even like the question why, is when we are dreaming big. Why double the revenue? Well, because then I'll have more money. And what will having that do for you?
Yes.
Why is more money a good thing?
Yes.
Well, because
what will it tell?
We ultimately get to what they actually want.
Yes.
And the reason that that's so vital is because then nothing is going to stop you from getting there. But if it's just, I want to double my revenue because this is a vanity metric, because this is what I'm supposed to say, I will hit a speed bump and stop going towards what I want. I will let my limiting belief derail me because I'm not tied to it. It's not so vital to me. So that's really, that is essential in it, is really understanding clearly why you want the thing or why you want the outcome. Because then you can become the person who, as long as it is in alignment with you, you are tied to it.
I love that. And I think I kind of was probably playing it this when I said, like, the first thing when I was mentioned with like, I want to double revenue, was like, oh, I'll have someone to deliver my groceries. It's not about the money. It's about what the kind of freedom and lifestyle you think you can allow yourself when you have that.
Exactly.
And then I would really go into like, okay, what of all these things of how I feel, do, act, whatever, what is already available to me now, right? Maybe getting someone to buy groceries for me is not yet in the books, but I know how much it costs and the difference is not that much. Or putting a fancy lime in your water costs 50 pence. So why the fuck am I not doing it now?
Exactly. How do we start creating the container for the doubled revenue right now? Be that person. If that person's putting lime or lemon in the water, do that, because that is something you could do. Maybe you can't have groceries delivered every week. Could you have them delivered once a month and feel what that feels like? Would that be something that would work in the current financial plan? Like, you get to ask yourself all those questions and have an amazing time with it. That's the point too. Your life gets to be extraordinary.
Yes.
Like, you get to
actually ask yourself with a sense of curiosity. Okay, I right now financially it's only sensible if I have them delivered once a month. Okay, so let's be curious. Let's play. What could I do that it could become weekly? Like, and then you can be very strategic. And then you can be very strategic about it. Okay, you need to earn, I don't know, another $200 a week. Okay, how could you earn $200 a week?
Yeah. What am I already doing that I could expand? Is there something? Because when you're thinking this way, now you're rewiring your brain. Now you're changing your filter to recognize, and you don't have to worry about the how in the beginning, right? No. At first, you just get to ask yourself, okay, what's already created in the container?
Yes, and what's already there?
What can I do to show up right now? Because then again, the how will start to come and you will start to see. Yeah,
I love that. And that's also kind of like closing the loop what we said earlier, right? Like it's it's not always in your timeline, or you might not know in a way, and or also how it show up, or like what sometimes like the 10K 10 people say, like, oh, you're just gonna sit on your ass and manifest. Like, no, we do take a lot of action, but it's aligned in a way. It's we know why we go fast or go hard at times,
and we know that it's in alignment with our core values. And while I'm sure there are some 10-day 10K people that is their core value, that is totally aligned for them, probably the majority, it's not. It's what I'm supposed to do. Like, oh, all of us should make 10K in 10 days. And if we don't, then what does that mean? Right?
Yeah.
That's where the place is. And the beauty of taking the Scenic Route is we don't give a fuck what it means, because we're not here. We're not here to play that game.
Yeah, like not available. Sorry.
Exactly.
Out of office.
That's not part of your meaning that you give to something is not my meaning that I need to give to something. No. I get to decide my meaning, and it gets to be empowered. It gets to empower me. And when it doesn't, I get to think a greater meaning. Like you're never stuck, my friends. Like it's not, you get to think a greater thought, release a limiting belief, show up in a different way. You're amazing. You're powerful. Start casting that one vote.
Yeah. For yourself.
Yes.
I love that. That's such a good, like, okay, amen, mic drop.
Yeah,
like, we're done.
This has been so cool. Thank you. Gosh, this has been so great.
Oh my God.
Being here with your audience.
Yeah, Jesus, that's like, that was like a perfect, I don't know, almost like a coaching session. Like, it was perfect. It was like, I mean, seriously, like, I know people who paid a lot of money for courses that basically told you all of this in like 14 modules. Whatever. Like, this is the gift of it.
Yeah. There you go.
But you also brought something for everyone who is listening, kind of like a special kind of, we haven't really talked about meditation so far, but it's something to support each and every one of us. Do you want to tell me more about it?
Yeah, we actually have talked about it without knowing it. So this is the mental rehearsal. I mean, without saying we've talked about it. This is diving so deep into an outcome. What does it sound like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like internally, externally? What's happening? What kind of container do you get to create for it? This is your well-formed outcome. So everyone will get access to a downloadable guided meditation. Your job is to know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, know what you don't
go
want.
back and listen to the episode.
We talked about how to get there. And it gets to be as simple as drinking 8-ounce glasses of water a day. It doesn't matter what your outcome is. I'm inviting you to practice this Olympic medalist level manifestation meditation. Like, this is what you get to do, because your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So when you see yourself showing up as the person who drinks water and sets a timer to remind you in the middle of the day and has fun and drinks them out of the fancy glasses and sometimes puts the lemon in, right? When you're doing the things mentally, when you see yourself doing it, when you go to show up in it, your brain's like, oh, we've been here before. We know how to do this. We got this.
It feels familiar. Familiar is good.
Familiar. Exactly. Exactly. Totally. Yeah.
I love this. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to listen in too, because it sounds like there's, as we said, there's never a level where you cannot make very good use of this.
Exactly.
So Mindi, before I let you go, I always have one last question because I'm always needing new inspiration. What book are you currently reading?
Oh, I'm currently reading.
You've just finished.
Okay.
I mean.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm currently reading Profit First.
Oh, goody.
And I just finished Chill and Prosper.
Oh, I love Chill and Prosper.
By Denise Duffield Thomas. I have 2 all-time recommendations as well. Atomic Habits.
Okay. Yes. I mean, well, that if you're someone who has to be before you do, Atomic Habits is the one to go. And
Limitless by Jim Quick.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Brain. Yeah. All of those will touch in your brain in some way, shape, or form at Profit First too, because you're switching a perspective.
Oh my God, yes,
Profit First.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
those are
And it's
are
very
my
actionable. Like
yes,
it's
yes.
mm, okay. Well, Mindy, it was such a joy to have you on the Scenic Route with me. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you for having me.